Good evening, everybody. The national security crisis at our southern border rages on. Now, the president's Department of Homeland Security appears to be slow-walking its efforts to secure that border and the homeland. Tucson Border Patrol Chief Roy Villarreal says our broken borders encourage illegal immigration and the entire system needs to be fixed.
The key or the linchpin to this is to create some sort of deterrent, and that does not exist right now because we're releasing people. And without detention space, there's nothing that's going to impede this flow. It's not just the Border Patrol, but it's ICE, it's ERO, it's the immigration courts, immigration judges. The entire system needs a reboot.
And tonight we take a look at that crisis that's worsening daily and what's being done to stop it. Congressman Louis Gohmert, Border Patrol Union Chief Brandon Judd among our guests here tonight. And Rhino Congressman Justin Amash of Michigan calls for the president's impeachment. And the really big question tonight is why the leaders of the gutless GOP don't throw Amash out of the party altogether and the caucuses as well. President Trump can't count on much from the milquetoast leadership of his own party. We take it all up with Ed Rollins here tonight and more. And tonight, the president takes his winning agenda to the battleground state of Pennsylvania, where these people, thousands of people, have been waiting in line for much of the day for the opportunity to see the president speak at tonight's rally. We'll be following that rally throughout the broadcast here tonight. We begin with the broken immigration system and a wide open border, and the president's Department of Homeland Security doing very little that's obvious to fix it. After winning a court battle for its Remain in Mexico policy, which means asylum seekers have to stay in Mexico until their requests for asylum are adjudicated, the Border Patrol is now releasing them into the country, knowing full well most of them will never return for their court dates. Meanwhile, nearly 200,000 illegal border crossers have been released into the United States since the end of December. Why is DHS still sending illegal immigrants into the United States rather than back to Mexico? We asked them today that very question, and we have yet to get a response. Joining us tonight, former Reagan White House political director, Fox Business political analyst, Ed Rollins. Ed, good to have you with us here.
Thank you.
And let's start with the obvious question. What's going on at DHS?
I have no idea, but they ought to load these people up on buses. If they talk about taking them to Florida, take them back to Mexico, take them to Mexico City, take them deep back close to their countries where they came from. You know, the absurdity of the whole allow them to come in and put them in a community where they're never going to come back is just like having open borders, and it just won't work. And it's a great detriment to the country and to the Border Patrol. It should be being helped, not hindered.
And to see so much that seems to be in simple hiatus. I mean, we've heard for some time, weeks and weeks,
right,
that Tom Homan would likely become the czar for immigration and border security, that Mark Morgan would take over at Customs, in immigration and Customs and Enforcement. What in the world is going on? There's obviously, looking at articles over the weekend, the Washington Post, the Daily Mail, there's a lot of internecine fighting going on in the White House that is, it has to be annoying the president. It is obviously troublesome to everyone in this administration.
Well, the chief of staff of the White House ought to drag these people over there and say, get it done. This is what the president wants. You go back and get it done, and get it done quickly, or we'll get someone in there who can do it. And then do whatever it is to speed up their confirmation
Remind
hearings.
me again, who is the chief of staff at the White House? Mick Mulvaney. Just kidding, Mick. This is a White House that doesn't need to be riven with this kind of political nonsense.
No, it shouldn't.
I mean, you're talking about professionals who know what they're doing, who have the talent, experience, and importantly, the energy and purpose to get the job done for the president, waiting in the wings instead of being on the line.
This is the #1 priority of the vast majority of people going to support this president right now, is to stop this terrible, terrible crisis on the border. And every day that goes by and more come in illegally is just adding to that burden.
Do you get the feeling Do you get the feeling that there's some within the White House who think, for whatever reason, that this president can simply appeal to the Democrats by inaction through changing language to softer words rather than stronger? In other words, be everything but Donald Trump and win away Democratic votes.
They're not going to get Democrat voters. They're going to get their own voters back if they go out and argue for the positions that they argued before. But the idea that you're going
may I interject?
Sure.
I think with that they have to have action, and they've got to have real action.
Absolutely.
On border security and illegal immigration. The base will put up with a lot, but this I don't believe they'll put up with long.
And being perfectly honest, I mean, they don't care about the immigration program in Jerusalem or the peace plan or any of those kinds of things. Right today, they care about this president showing strength, this White House basically implementing his policies, and the immigration and the border security is the most important issue.
So where is the president right now? We're looking, can we take a shot of the rally in Pennsylvania, the people lined up here? I mean, this is extraordinary. There have literally been thousands. Did I just say literally? I'm so sick of that word. I condemn others when they use cliches, and I'm talking literally. I apologize, folks. But these folks are lined up. They're obviously engaged. They're excited for our president. They mean business when it comes to right now and 2020.
Well, this is the 12th congressional district where a longtime member, Republican, retired. This is for an open seat tomorrow that we should win.
Tom Marino's
seat. We should win it easily. Trump was very popular in this part of the state. Obviously, you see that tonight. But these are the people, these are the backbone of our wing there, and you've got to make sure that they're paid attention to. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, which now all have record low unemployment, are the states we have to win again in order to basically for him to win again.
You know, it is obviously, and one of the things that folks will say almost immediately as I utter these words, it is early. But to see this level of interest in the president and this rally, it bodes nothing to me but terrific things for him in the weeks and months ahead to the 2020 election.
Well, it's going to be a real battle. Biden, who lived until he was 10 years old in Pennsylvania, claims that as one of his own states. As I've said before, I've never found
and 49 others.
I've never found anybody outside of Delaware that was for Biden. He campaigned very hard for Hillary last time in the same parts of the state that Trump won big. But it is going to be a battleground state, and it's very important the president be there many other times.
And the president, what are the issues that he has to prevail on? And by that I mean this is a man who's delivered historic accomplishments in economic policy. He is delivering a foreign policy that is simultaneously clear and decisive, and, by the way, working strongly in the interests of the United States, something we hadn't had for a while. It's a modest foreign policy. In point of fact, it's not an interventionist policy.
Well, it should be an interventionist policy. We've had interventionist policy in the past that failed miserably. At the end of the day, this is about promises made, promises kept. He's got a very strong economy. Every day the economy gets stronger. Record unemployments in states like this, and that's what he has to advocate and continue to make sure happen.
Adam Schiff, we want to take up. He's out calling for impeachment along with Justin Amash. This Amash fellow.
Well, the sad part, he's from in the Grand Rapids area of Michigan, which is always a historically good Republican part of the country. He's a libertarian. We need to go primary him and defeat him.
Why isn't the Republican Party just throwing him the heck out?
They should. This is the president's party, and the Republican chances of winning majority again are going to depend on punishing people like this to go out. There's plenty of Democrats that are going to argue for impeachment. You don't need to have one of your own doing that.
This is the president talking about Justin Amash earlier today.
I've known him, and he's been against Trump from the beginning. He probably wants to run for some other office. I don't think he'll do very well. He's been a loser for a long time. Rarely votes for Republicans. And, personally, I think he's not much.
And here's Nancy Pelosi, who we might expect a warm embrace from on the issue of Justin Amash. Here she is.
His tweets speak to the silence of the Republicans in the Congress of the United States, because that little tweet says, look, we're not hearing from the rest of them.
I hope you could understand that. All I saw was and heard was Nancy Pelosi being Nancy Pelosi. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are she thinks she's got the votes for impeachment. Go at it. I'm happy to have the battle. I'm sure the president's happy to have the battle. We'll get it over. We may lose an impeachment vote in the House with Democrats, but that will be the only Republicans who vote for it. And at the end of the day, the president's not going to be impeached. But let's get all this stuff out of the way.
Tell me one thing.
Yeah.
It's all well and good to talk about, Republicans beating their chest, talking about let's bring on impeachment and all that. The Dems are going to get their
they get the clock.
They're going to get their clock clean.
Right.
Is a good way of putting it. Meanwhile, where in the heck is the United States Senate, Republican-led? Why aren't their committees investigating Hillary-gate? Why aren't their committees investigating Spygate? Why aren't they doing everything they can to stay up at least with the relentlessness of the Democrats, even after almost 3 years of investigation by the FBI, the Mueller's witch hunt special counsel, and their ignorance proceeds without response from from the Republicans? It's just ignorance. It's weakness and it's ignorance, and I cannot imagine how you could excuse it.
And if Republicans want to hold the Senate, and they have a big class up this time, they've got to start doing some things, and they've got to be aggressive just on the tone that you are. The vast majority of Americans who are going to vote for Republican senators are Trump supporters, and they have to understand that.
Ed Rollins, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Up next, the White House blocking Gerald Nadler and the radical Dems' latest attempt to harass the president. Plus,
Look at that tornado.
Man, Tornado Alley living up to its name. More than 60 twisters over the weekend. And Air Force One has just landed as we await the president's rally in Pennsylvania. We'll have that, much more right after this quick break. President Trump directing former White House counsel Don McGahn to skip a House Judiciary Committee hearing scheduled for tomorrow. The move follows a memo being released by the Justice Department Office of Legal Counsel, which states, quote, "We provide the same answer that the Department of Justice has repeatedly provided for nearly 5 decades. Congress may not constitutionally compel the president's senior advisors to testify about their official duties." End of story, end of subpoena, but it will go on. House Intel Chair Adam Schiff has outright lied to the American people now for more than 2 years, without consequence, of course. The congressman claiming throughout that he had seen personally evidence of Russian collusion, but never produced it, of course. Now, after almost 3 years of investigation by the FBI, the Mueller special counsel, who found absolutely no evidence of any kind of collusion and, in point of fact, exonerated the president, the radical Dem Schiff is still, he wants to begin impeachment proceedings as a way to find that evidence, he says. The evidence that he hasn't been able to produce, that he's lied about for years now, about having.
You do think there is more of a movement towards impeachment?
I think that we are seeing more members that recognize that the administration is acting in a lawless fashion. Essentially, having obstructed justice is now obstructing Congress and our lawful function.
Oh, my goodness. Well, there's nothing lawful about those subpoenas, as the Office of Legal Counsel pointed out today. Schiff doesn't seem to be too interested in actually the law or the correctness of their behavior and conduct. In point of fact, he's lied for years, so you have a pretty good mark for his character. Joining us tonight is Jason Chaffetz. He's former Republican congressman from the great state of Utah, former House Oversight Committee chairman, best-selling author, Fox Business contributor, great American. Good to have you with us. And I know the reason you're with us is you want to watch very, very close up the rally in Pennsylvania here on Fox Business.
Yeah.
Let's start with Adam Schiff, because it just amuses me to even mention his name. Insisting on impeachment, Justin Amash, Republican so-called, pushing the same nonsense. Why do the American people have to put up with these clowns?
Well, if they're so adamant about bringing it up and there's so much evidence, why don't they actually do it? I mean, you have about 60 Democrats who've actually, before the Mueller report even came out, piled on and said, oh, yeah, we got to impeach the president. But they're not doing it because there is no case. There is no underlying way to do it. And I'm surprised, it shows how far, a face the nation has fallen when every single week it seems like they put on Adam Schiff. He's been spewing lies for 2 years. And I don't know why anybody listens to him at this point because he has no case.
Well, Mitt Romney, our friend Mitt Romney, said that little Adam Schiff was being courageous in his calls. Said he disagreed with him, though, after that. What do you make of that kind of nonsense?
Well, look, each of these individuals in the House and Senate, they're entitled to their own opinion, but they don't have many people following them, it's just not going to go anywhere. At this point, the Mueller report is in the rearview mirror. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction of justice. They can keep flailing about it, but what I really think they're trying to do is distract from the idea that Horowitz and Durham and some of these other names within the Department of Justice are actually pursuing the underlying premise, and that is going to be the real news.
The underlying premise is that the leadership of the Obama Justice Department, the Obama FBI, and the Obama intelligence community appear to have conspired to overthrow the President of the United States. We're going to pick that up. Jason, could I ask you to stay with us as we check in with the President's rally to hear a few words, if we could, from the President?
How do you beat that? Somebody's going to come and run, and they're going to say they're going to do good. In the history of this country, you just hit an all-time low. That's pretty tough to beat. We've ended the last administration's 8-year war on Pennsylvania energy, and we're unleashing clean coal and shale, and America is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world. Man, this is a lot of people. I think next time we'll just have to get a bigger hangar. That's a big hangar. We're going to have to get a bigger. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I thought that was the sun in my eyes. It's these stupid lights, these people. I mean, what are they doing? Is there any way they can turn those lights down, folks? Crazy. You've got a thing called the sun. We like the sun better than the artificial nonsense. Wages are going way up. Crime is going way down. And our military is more powerful right now than ever before. And when we took over 2.5 years ago, our military was in big trouble. It was depleted. You know that. It was depleted. The equipment was old. The planes were old. Oh, we have the most beautiful fighter jets in the world being delivered now every day. Every day. Our spirit is strong. Our stride is back. And our stand is clear. We are finally putting, like I said, America first. And after years of building up foreign countries, we are now building up our country. About time. We've got the hottest economy anywhere in the world. The United States added 263,000 jobs just last
The President at a huge rally in Pennsylvania. And Jason Chaffetz, a former congressman, former chair of the House Oversight Committee, is with us. A political question here, and that is, we have a president who is historic just in what he has done with this economy. We've never, to my knowledge, seen a president be beaten with an economy approaching anything at this level of amazing productivity, amazing economic growth, high employment. It is truly a remarkable performance. How strong an influence will that be in the outcome of 2020?
Well, look at the crowds that Donald Trump is able to attract. I recognize he's the sitting president of the United States, but there is no Democrat who can even come close to having an attraction like that and create a rally and a frenzy. I mean, there are literally by the tens of thousands of people lining up to see Donald Trump. I think, Lou, one of the keys here, and it really does matter in Pennsylvania and across the Northeast and the Midwest, as well as the rest of the country. But if Donald Trump can strike a deal, and as he's taken on China, I really think that will be the feather in his cap, in addition to everything that's going well with the economy, that's just going to be unbeatable in 2020.
Yeah, and with that, Jason, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll return to you and to the president. Stay with us. We're coming right back. There's President Trump. He's talking tonight at a big rally in Pennsylvania. Let's listen in.
Now we know who he's voting for. Thank you very much. He said, I'm from San Diego. Do you believe that? He said, I'm from San Diego, and we need that wall. And, you know, in San Diego, as you know, it's going up, and now it's up. And here's what they did in California. They wanted the wall so badly, and so I did it. And I said, you know, maybe I shouldn't do it politically. Let them ask. I did it. And now it's beautiful. People not coming in. It's beautiful, right? In San Diego. And now they go out and say, we didn't want the wall in the first place.
The president addressing the wall, and with us to address the wall and border security and our broken immigration system, Congressman Louis Gohmert. He serves on the House Judiciary Committee, also a member of the House Border Security Caucus and the influential Freedom Caucus. Congressman, great to have you with us, and we know you've been pressed with some votes in the House. Your reaction to the president's call for the wall being built, the Pentagon coming up with $1.5 billion extra dollars to throw into the pot for the purpose of building that wall. Your thoughts about border security and the crisis we face?
Well, his detractors can say what they want to, but what President Trump is doing in trying to build a wall where we need it, trying to secure the border, is the most single compassionate thing we could do for the people of Mexico and south of Mexico. The reason they're not a top 10 economy is because of corruption, and that comes from the drug cartels, and that comes from the tens of billions of dollars that go flowing into the drug cartels every year. So the president's going to make Mexico a better place, whether they like it or not, by drying up the drug cartels. It starts with building a wall where we need it. So thank God for Donald Trump.
And we need that wall in a lot of places.
You got it.
We've got just basically something like 600 to 700 miles of infrastructure along that almost 2,000-mile long border. Most people don't realize that. It is about 60% of the border is unpatrolled.
Yep. And you know, there's a place Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar, some of us went up to in Arizona, where the wall looks great. The National Guard put Concertina wire at the top. It's great. It's 20, 25 feet. And it goes up about halfway up a hill and stops. And then there's a little barbed wire gate there that attaches with a cord that's a slip knot so that the drug cartels can go in and out easily. And you can see the trail for miles. They're coming straight to the end of the wall, going right around it. It's insane. You build the wall where we need it, and we got more places we need it. Thank God for President Trump.
Yep, absolutely. Why aren't we watching more being done with the Remain in Mexico policy that was just upheld by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, paving the way for the president to go ahead?
Yep. Well, there was a shocker, wasn't it? Even the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said, you know, that may be a good idea. We need to do more, but the Congress doesn't, especially the House, doesn't want to give him any help in securing the border and making sure that people stay in Mexico. But, you know, the policies the president lined out last week in the Rose Garden were right on track. And I'm hoping that one other that we can do is have immigration judges move right to the border. Somebody has an asylum claim. We're not going to give them 4 years to come back and make that claim, and 90% of the time don't come back. You usher them right into the tent with the immigration judge, make your pitch, 90% of them are not approved, and we send them right back, and we don't have to take care of them for years in this country with the health care and food stamps and all the other things.
Congressman, we're just about out of time. Justin Amash, I've just got to ask you, a member of the Freedom Caucus, as you are, why in the world doesn't Mark Meadows, the chair of the caucus, why doesn't Kevin McCarthy, who pointed out today that Amash votes with Pelosi more than with him, as he put it, why don't you throw the fellow out of the conference? I mean, this is the kind of nonsense, it seems to me, that produced a Paul Ryan, that produced a conference that was embarrassed by the fact that it kept him as speaker 9 months after he resigned.
Look, Justin has been a fighter when it came to the abuses of the FISA court and too much power, and I was so pleased to have him there. I don't understand how he could end up now in the most abusive situation, the most numerous abuses in one case against the President of the United States, the FISA court. You know, and it kills me, too, that people are talking about obstruction of justice.
I've just asked you a question.
I'm sorry. I know.
We're out of time.
I know.
In 30 seconds.
It gets me frustrated because it's the wrong thing.
Should he be thrown out or not?
We're going to talk about that tonight. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Congressman.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Congressman Louie Gohmert. We're going to have much more for you from Pennsylvania, where the president is talking to thousands and thousands of his supporters, supporting Republican congressional candidate Fred Keller up there right now. Stay with us. We're coming right back with much more. The president tonight in the critical battleground swing state of Pennsylvania. Here's the president.
We ran one time and we're 1-0, but it was for the big one. Now we're going to have a second time. And we're going to have another one. And then we'll drive them crazy. Ready? And maybe if we really like it a lot, and if things keep going like they're going, we'll go and we'll do what we have to do. We'll do a 3 and a 4 and a 5. Watch. They'll have tomorrow. We knew no, I don't want to say. Now we're going to have another one, and it's going to be great. And, you know, one of the things we're talking about, the greatest probably, I think, political slogan of all time is what you have on your hats. Make America great again. But now, our military is so powerful. We're taking on countries in trade that the Democrats and Republicans didn't do anything about, in all fairness. For years and years, China and so many other countries, I don't want to embarrass because, frankly, a lot of them are great people, but they don't understand how they got away with it either. But we have to make a decision soon. Do we keep our logo? Do we keep our slogan, Make America Great Again, or... It's very risky. Changing the most successful slogan has to be. They think that was one of the greatest elections of all time. And now we're taking the slogan or the logo from that election and possibly changing it. But we've had 101 or 102 all-time high stock markets, record stock markets. We have just about the best unemployment in history, including the absolute best for African American, Asian, as you know, and Hispanic. So we have all of these records that we've been setting. Our military is strong, our Second Amendment is good, everything's good. So do we make America great again? And we're going to go with cheers here, one way or the other. Or do we make it keep America great? Because you have look, you know.
Joining us now, the president of the National Border Patrol Council, Brandon Judd. Brandon, the president talking about the wall, talking about the economy. He's getting a lot of momentum on the funding of that wall. Your thoughts tonight about where we stand in securing the border and where we stand in terms of fixing this immigration system?
Well, I think it's interesting that the president is on the right side of the three major issues that the American public wants to see. They want to see health care, they want to see the economy, and they want to see immigration. Immigration is always in the top three issues that are on the minds of the American people. And if you look at what the president is trying to accomplish with immigration, he's going in the right direction. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Congress on his side, so he's using the authorities that he needs to have. You talked earlier about the Migrant Protection Program and why hasn't that been expanded? Right. The reason that it hasn't been expanded is because the Mexican government, frankly, is corrupt. The Mexican government has to agree to take these people back into Mexico, and they're not doing it. And so the president is going to put the requisite pressure on the Mexican government to force them to do their part in helping us secure our borders. And again, we have to have that. We didn't have that under the Obama administration. In 8 years under the Obama administration, he never lifted a finger to try to help the Border Patrol agents to secure the border. This president is, in fact, trying to do that.
And this, right now, the idea that that we're basically being confronted by thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants, most of whom are seeking in one form or the other asylum. We have deportation, removal orders for what, a million others in the United States. And we just aren't seeing anything happen on interior enforcement as there is surge after surge on our southern border.
Well, our main problem is we have too many people in DHS that are holdovers from the Obama administration. Mark Krikorian of the Center for Immigration Studies said it the best when he was talking about what's happening in DHS. There's very few people in the department that actually support the president and his vision in trying to get what's done. They want the status quo because the status quo keeps them in their positions where they need to be. That's the swamp, and that's the swamp that needs to be drained. And frankly, it's in one of the departments that is the most important to the president, and that's in immigration. We've got to drain that swamp.
Immigration, citizenship and immigration services, huge problems, immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, Mark Morgan, the president says he's his man. We haven't seen any movement by Kevin McAleenan, the acting DHS secretary. What's going on there, and why isn't more happening? Why isn't he on the job, on the line?
He's got to step up and do a better job. He needs to move Mark Morgan in. That's part of draining the swamp, bringing in the outside that isn't the status quo, the regular thinkers. You've got to do operations within the interior of the country. I mean, we even saw that again. Although Obama didn't do a whole heck of a lot, we saw that any time that he did interior enforcements, we saw numbers on the border drop. We've got to have that in interior enforcement. We've got to take a holistic approach to immigration, and frankly, we're not seeing it with DHS.
What is this? Is this just politics? Is it in the White House? Is it in DHS?
No,
is it everywhere?
It's not within. Look at the advisors that he has around him on immigration. He's got some very good advisors in the White House. The problem is, he's getting the pushback from the department. It's not in the White House. It's at the department level. That's where the pushback is coming back from, and that that's where we have to take a look at it. That's where the Mark Morgans of the world, that's where the Tom Homans of the world can step in and do the right thing if we can get Tom in there as the immigration czar. We've got to make those changes. We have to have some outside-minded people coming in and cleaning up DHS.
And you mentioned interior enforcement with Mark Morgan and Tom Homan. Obviously, been discussions about him becoming immigration czar, border security czar. You know, as you say, these are critical appointments. Get them in the fight, as the saying goes.
And that's what we want to see. We want to see them there. The Department of Homeland Security is such a big department. It's so far-reaching, whereas we have to focus on the things that are most important. And frankly, the most critical thing that is facing the Department of Homeland Security is illegal immigration. We have to have people step up. We have to have people that are willing to put their own interests behind themselves. If you're going to take a political appointee job, do the job that the president is asking you to do. You're not there for popularity. You're there to do his bidding, his job, and we're not seeing that.
Brendan Judd, thanks for being with us as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll continue our coverage of the president's rally in Pennsylvania right after these quick messages. The president talking about the best economy, well, as he puts it, almost ever. Certainly in the first 2.5 years of an administration. Historic. We continue. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Good evening, everybody. The national security crisis at our southern border rages on. Now the president's Department of Homeland Security appears to be slow-walking its efforts to secure that border and the homeland. Tucson Border Patrol Chief Roy Villarreal says our broken borders encourage illegal immigration and the entire system needs to be fixed.
The key or the linchpin to this is to create some sort of deterrent, and that does not exist right now because we're releasing people. And without detention space, there's nothing that's going to impede this flow. It's not just the Border Patrol, but it's ICE, it's ERO, it's the immigration courts, immigration judges. The entire system needs a reboot.
And tonight we take a look at that crisis that's worsening daily and what's being done to stop it. Congressman Louis Gohmert, Border Patrol Union Chief Brandon Judd among our guests here tonight, and Rhino Congressman Justin Amash of Michigan calls for the president's impeachment. And the really big question tonight is why the leaders of the gutless GOP don't throw Amash out of the party altogether and the caucuses as well. President Trump can't count on much from the milquetoast leadership of his own party. We take it all up with Ed Rollins here tonight and more. And tonight, the president takes his winning agenda to the battleground state of Pennsylvania, where these people, thousands of people, have been waiting in line for much of the day for the opportunity to see the president speak at tonight's rally. We'll be following that rally throughout the broadcast here tonight. We begin with the broken immigration system and a wide open border, and the president's Department of Homeland Security doing very little that's obvious to fix it. After winning a court battle for its Remain in Mexico policy, which means asylum seekers have to stay in Mexico until their requests for asylum are adjudicated, the Border Patrol is now releasing them into the country, knowing full well most of them will never return for their court dates. Meanwhile, nearly 200,000 illegal border crossers have been released into the United States since the end of December. Why is DHS still sending illegal immigrants into the United States rather than back to Mexico? We asked them today that very question, and we have yet to get a response. Joining us tonight, former Reagan White House political director, Fox Business political analyst, Ed Rollins. Ed, good to have you with us here.
Thank you.
And let's start with the obvious question. What's going on at DHS?
I have no idea, but they ought to load these people up on buses. If they talking about taking them to Florida, take them back to Mexico, take them to Mexico City, take them deep back close to their countries where they came from. You know, the absurdity of the whole allow them to come in and put them in a community where they're never going to come back is just like having open borders, and it just won't work. And it's a great detriment to the country and to the Border Patrol. It should be being helped, not hindered.
and to see so much that seems to be in simple hiatus. I mean, we've heard for some time, weeks and weeks, that Tom Homan would likely become the czar for immigration and border security, that Mark Morgan would take over at Customs, in immigration and Customs and Enforcement. What in the world is going on? There's obviously, looking at articles over the weekend, the Washington Post, the Daily Mail, there's a lot of internecine fighting going on in the White House that is, it has